So I have a hot take for you all today. This is something that I've seen tons of discussion about TikTok and its relationship to music, right? A lot of people say TikTok ruined music. You'll hear a lot of people say things like, people only listen to snippets now. Everybody wants like this, I think it's called nightcore or whatever, when it's like they speed up the song. A lot of people have a very negative opinion of how TikTok's affected music. I think there's credence to this, by the way. I think there is, as I'll always say before I give a hot take, I understand where this take comes from. I mean, when you see a video of an artist and like they're performing and people only know one part of the song, like that's stinky, right? We all understand why, yeah, it's a little annoying that people are less into their artists these days than they previously have been. Like, I understand that. I also get the idea of like, artists now have to shell out on TikTok and, they gotta like make these videos. Did I just make the song of the summer in order to blow up? Like, I thought one of the craziest things was when Lady Gaga released her most recent album. She was making a lot of TikToks as if she was just an artist trying to get their start. Maybe she fully enjoyed making those, by the way. I don't know if like she was forced to make those. She very well could have been, but I was like, oh my god, it's crazy that even like she made Fame Monster. Like the fact that she's here right now making TikToks like she's just like anybody else is crazy. Again, maybe she enjoyed it, I don't know. So I get all these things. I get why there's annoyances around TikTok. However, I want to mention one thing here that I don't think is often talked about enough in this conversation, just how much is allowed to be massive now because of TikTok. I think there's a lot of genres, in that lane especially, of genre. I think there's a lot that it's done good there. I'm going to use an example, rock music, right? I think that's a good place to start here. Obviously, I don't think anybody would argue there's more good rock music coming out right now than there was in like 1980. Of course, it's very common knowledge that rock music as a genre peaked in 1996 when Pinkerton was released by Weezer, and it's just been downhill since, and Weezer's been the only good rock band left. No, but obviously genre moves, it comes, it goes. A lot of people are saying right now there's a big conversation like hip hop is like on the decline and that's kind of done as a genre. You always have your big like pop music and stuff like that, but of course genre comes and goes. And when you have a very centralized industry, right? Like an industry that's like, we just want to focus on making money and we're gonna crank out these artists to make the most money. They're gonna focus on that a lot. Like if you're in the year 2010 and, it's really not that profitable to be making bossa nova jazz music, you are just not going to be able to, you're going to be able to do it. You can make the music yourself, of course. You're not going to be able to be a successful, giant recording, touring artist with that, right? In the mainstream, at least. I think that's a big caveat here. Because, of course, anything can exist in any context, right? But I think in the mainstream, that's just not going to happen because you need to get signed by a label. You need to get distribution. You need to get marketing. You're not going to exist in the space if you don't have these things. But labels don't care because you are making bossa nova jazz music. And they go, nobody's listened to that since, the Second World War. It's just not going to play, right? And, of course, the bigger underlying problem here is that the whole of artistry in the space of music is at the whims of these giant record labels. Like that's in its own right, I think, the big conversation to be had here. And these record labels in this modern landscape of TikTok are creating just as many new problems, don't fear. They're always going to be out there making things as bad as they can. But because of the fact that everything can be so widespread, there's a lot of artists that are making really good rock music that are able to go mainstream. Like very mainstream. I think a good example of one that's recently blown up fairly big is Somber, right? He's that tall guy. He's the one that makes songs like, how can we go back to being friends? Like that song, right? I don't know why I just sang it. I could have just said he made Back to Friends, and you all probably would have known what it is because it's a giant song. But like, he can make a song like that and have a successful career past that. There's other hugely rock-adjacent groups that do the same thing. I'd argue Biba Doobie, right? She is making music that's like indie, alternative, a little bit rocky sometimes, very much just copying from Weezer, as all artists are these days. And because of that, she's been able to do amazing on TikTok. I mean, I still remember like 2019 when that song, what is it, Coffee, was it called? With that guy. I was about to sing it. I'm not going to sing again. But the fact that that can do well, something so out there like that, is very impressive. I think sometimes we take that for granted because we're in the middle of it. That's one of the weird things about how art works, right? Is like when there are things that are bad about a current art scene, as there always will be, right? There are a ton of things bad about painting. There's a million think pieces right now about like the modern art landscape and painting. When you have that, people will always focus on that, and only later on will it be like, this was a huge strength of this period. And this is, I guess, the center of my hot take. I think like in years from now, when they're looking back on the years of 2020 to like 2035 or however long TikTok is gonna be the biggest thing on earth for, they're gonna be like, we had the most diversity of really popular genre ever. Like, right, if you were to go back, I mean, now it's a little bit messed up because of TikTok. Not messed up, but now it's a little bit more hard to place down because of TikTok. But if you go back to like 1990 and play a song for them, they'll immediately be able to place that, right? If you go back to 1990 and play them a Leve song, they'll be like, yeah, this is probably from the 1930s or whatever, especially if they're not super into jazz, right? They'll be like, this is probably an older song. And then now, all of these things can exist at the same time because TikTok allows it to be very organic. It's almost like, and this is where the labels have come in and ruined it, and I honestly am just not educated enough on exactly how the labels ruin this to really go into it adequately here, but we are in a time where everything is almost has the opportunity to be grassroots, like, right? You can be an artist making something that only 10 people will enjoy, and those 10 people will find it and show it to their 10 other friends who enjoy it. And based on that, you can build a career. That's awesome. And I think the biggest lesson we've learned here, right? Like I remember as a kid, I've mentioned before, Green Day is like one of the first things I was ever really into as a kid, right? I remember I was always so sad because I was like, man, like, I wonder like why there's no bands making things just like this nowadays, right? Mainstream stuff. I mean, I was like 8. I couldn't really tap into the underground back then. I was like, why isn't this on the radio like it used to be? Why isn't this the biggest thing on earth? And part of that, me being a kid and like not understanding that it is out there, you just gotta search for it a little more. But I think I was, as much as I was 10, actually like kind of on the mark there of like, there actually is a whole lot more people that have a whole lot more diversity of taste than you would actually think if you just go off numbers or just assume whatever the record labels are putting out is what needs to be the most popular thing on earth. I mean, if you were thinking that the record labels would truly dictate what like taste looks like in the world, you would think what, like Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift are like just the two greatest artists of all time. Great artists in their own right, I'm not dissing them at all, but obviously we all understand there's a huge diversity of music out there. I think there's even artists that are like able to break genre completely now, which is really cool to me. Like Frank Ocean with Blonde is a great example of this. 2016 is definitely a little early, but I think it's definitely had even more play over the years, right? Because of things like TikTok, and that's, I mean, Frank Ocean's like the god on there, right? I think if Frank Ocean were to hop on TikTok, it'd probably be sort of like a Shanks Shung up at Marineford situation. Like I think it would genuinely change, like it would be kind of a Kingdom Come moment because he's just so huge on that app. He's able to now break genre. Like Blonde is not something that very neatly fits into R&B. It's not. Like, it obviously, yes, it's technically an R&B album, but like, if you just have sounds played throughout that album, it's very much like its own thing, right? I actually would argue that Lord's newest album does this exact same thing. Tyler Creator, another artist who's like a god on TikTok, right? I mean, this guy, he might be able to do what Frank can do in terms of being like the second coming on TikTok. His most recent album was a great example of like, there are songs on that album that are a little bit more, actually don't even know what genre like some of these songs in this album are. I guess like a little bit more poppy, but even beyond that, I mean, there's a song that uses, I believe it's from Zimbabwe, so like a rock sample from that. And like just everybody will go and be like, yeah, no, this is sick. Like they all, not only do people like it, they understand it, they're more exposed to it, like they are genuinely deepening their understanding of music because this app allows something like this that's widespread to grow. I'd be willing to bet, and I'm not like an industry insider or anything, I don't know 100%, but I'd be willing to bet that if you go back to the year 2010 and Tyler the Creator's making music, and he's like, hey, so yeah, I'm going to include this sample from Zimbabwe on this album, the label would be like, no. Even more so, he's releasing it as the first single on the album. It was Noid. It was the first single that he released. No way that would ever be allowed to happen. Like, that just, there is so much more that's available because things are more grassroots, right? And that's why, like, it's like kind of the worst time ever to be an artist right now, and I understand why people feel that way, but it's also kind of the best time ever to be an artist, because everything is so all over the place and crazy, and nobody can really get a full grasp on anything anymore, which has its downside, because we're never gonna have another Michael Jackson, right? We're never gonna have monoculture again. There's never gonna be another Seinfeld, another Beatles, right? And that sucks, right? Like, I would love to be able to say, like, someday I'll make a painting that everybody sees, right? That's just like a nice aspiration to have that is no longer at all possible to have, right? But it's also great because of stuff like this. I mean, I'm an artist, you guys are just watching me do stuff that is totally, like, stupid, that would never work otherwise, right? And TikTok and social media in general, but I'm focusing on TikTok in this video, of course, has allowed that to happen because since everything's so all over the place, everybody has a spot now. And I really like that. I think that's a positive, with all the negatives, of course. Is it a net good? I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna say that TikTok is a net good for music, but I think that's a cool thing about it, that as somebody who has that core memory of growing up being like, oh man, I wish there were other people that would, like, listen to rock music with me because all my friends like rap. That's awesome now that, like, I get to see, like, oh my god, Leve is one of my most played artists now, and I would never find bossa nova jazz otherwise if she wasn't able to, you know, become what she is, and then my friends show me her, like, that kind of thing, right? So that's my hot take, guys. Let me know what you think. This is the painting. This is the final with this color palette. I used up all the colors in this one. I just added a ton of texture to the pink because I had a little bit too much pink. And I think this is the best one yet in the color palette series. But huge caveat here, it's not because they're good colors, just because I did a lot of texture on the pink. It's more interesting by texture than color, right? So technically I cheated a little bit, but we had to use up the paints, guys. You can't blame me. So go check this out over on Instagram, and until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 194. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.